Hello everybody, I'm going to be reading you a story today, My Ballet Theatre. It was almost the end of ballet class when Mrs. Sonatine made an important announcement. "My dears," she said, "I have some exciting news. At the end of next term, we shall be putting on a show. It will be the first one for some of you. I will put details on the notice board next week. You will all be able to take part." The children looked at each other. "I can't wait," grinned Josh. He loved to perform and danced his best when the audience was watching, even if it was just his mum and dad and his little sister. Bella smiled too. "It's going to be wonderful," she sighed, pushing back her headband. "You'll have to do something about your hair," sniffed Pia. Her own hair was always neatly done, just as Mrs. Sonatine liked. No one noticed that Emmy had not spoken since she heard the news. The following week, when the children arrived to get ready for the class, there was a buzz of excitement around the notice board. "It's going to be the Nutcracker," smiled Pia. "I saw it at the theatre last Christmas. It's a really beautiful ballet. I want to be a snowflake." Emmy smiled, but inside she felt very worried. She wasn't like Pia and Josh. The idea of appearing on stage in front of hundreds of people made her feel dreadful. That night, at bedtime, while the other children were imagining themselves in their starring roles, Emmy told her mum how she really felt. "It's okay, Emmy," said her mum, giving her a hug. "You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. I'll have a word to Mrs. Sonatine, and I'm sure that you can be involved with the show in other ways." The months flew past, and during each ballet lesson, Mrs. Sonatine taught her pupils a little bit more of the Nutcracker. It was fun, but it was hard work. There were parts for everyone. Mrs. Sonatine had been very kind when Emmy told her that she didn't want to take part. "You can be my assistant stage manager," said the teacher. "It's a very important job." One day, a few weeks before the show, Mrs. Sonatine asked for volunteers. "You need to make and paint the scenery," she said. "Who is free on Saturday?" Bella put up her hand at once. She loved helping with the show, and after Pia's comments had been busily growing her hair all term. Unfortunately, her painting turned out to be even messier than her hair. "Never mind, Bella," said Mrs. Sonatine. "It's really good to see that you are very enthusiastic." The days rushed past. Mrs. Sonatine began to look a little frazzled. Emmy made sure that all of her lists were kept in order. There was so much to do. At last, the day of the dress rehearsal arrived. When Bella saw her costume, she had to laugh. She was one of the army of mice, and it really didn't matter how messy her hair was, as it was tucked up inside her soldier's cap. Well, the dress rehearsal was a disaster. First, Mrs. Sonatine dropped her lists, and it took her ages to put them back in order. Several dancers fell over, and Bella, trying to run off stage, became trapped when the girl playing Clara stood on her tail. When the scenery began to collapse, Mrs. Sonatine called it a day. They always say, "A bad dress rehearsal means a great show, she laughed. Mrs. Sonotine was right. On the afternoon of the show, everything went perfectly. Bella leapt and scurried as a little mouse. Pia floated and twirled as a snowflake. The big girl who played Clara danced beautifully, and her Nutcracker Prince looked handsome and bold. After the interval came the delights of the land of the sweets. The Sugar Plum Fairy was as dainty as could be, and the Russian and the Chinese dances made everybody smile. Josh was dashing as a Spanish dancer, and how he loved it when the audience applauded. Behind the scenes, Emmy slipped away. Mrs. Sonotine saw her go. "Oh, I hope that she's not upset after all that she didn't take part," she said. But she couldn't see the smile on Emmy's face. The wonderful music swept to a close as Clara, alone on stage with her beloved Nutcracker, awoke from her wonderful dream. Mrs. Sonotine gave a sigh of relief and the curtain came down. For a long moment there was silence. Then a huge cheer burst from the audience, and there came a storm of applause. Behind the curtain, Mrs. Sonotine waved the excited dancers forward. The little mice, the sweets, the snowflakes, and everybody came proudly to the front with their partners to curtsy or bow. Last of all, Clara and the Nutcracker Prince stood together while the audience clapped and cheered. Then, as Mrs. Sonotine came onto the stage to thank the audience, and a small ballerina stepped calmly out of the wings, and with a perfect curtsy, she presented the bouquet to her teacher. It was Emmy, who had enjoyed taking part in her very own way so much she had her own moment in the spotlight at the end. And that's the end of our story today. Thanks, everybody.